1,000,000,000,000%. This makes total sense for the Colts. It always has. And it never really made sense when he retired. You know when guys are going to hang it up. When Drew Brees throws a bunch of interceptions, and we just saw in his final game, and he's hugging his family, and he's kind of out there, like, yeah, that's it. And the numbers plummeted with Drew Brees so that one of the biggest passing attacks in all of football becomes pretty mediocre. That's not what happened to Phillip Rivers. Here's what it is, and we did some stats yesterday, so I had to freshen it up a little bit. He had more completions than Baker, more yards than Kyler, and a better passer rating than Matt Stafford. Now, I know you're saying, like, he's old, he's going to be 40. All right, well, we're in the golden age of old guys. Tom Brady's old, Aaron Rodgers is old,
Lakers.
Roethlisberger's old, and I hate to say it, Phillip Rivers and the Lakers are old, and I hate to say it, Phillip Rivers is healthier than all those guys. He hasn't missed a start in 15 years. He's still got it. And Brandon, even if people are worried about the age or are worried about him getting in shape, we know Carson Wentz is going to be back. So Phillip Rivers could basically do like a Vegas tour. Like, hey, you know what? I'm here for 5 to 12 weeks until Wentz is back. Then I'm going to go check in with my fellas down in high school football and be out. Make a couple $1,000,000, win-win for everybody. Do you like Phillip Rivers back to the Colts?
I do, and you called this, right? You said it yesterday, and I didn't think it was a real thing because of what you said. It's like it was weird to see him go. I know the Colts really enjoyed him. Frank Wright really enjoyed him. He had a great rapport with the guys, and they had some success. So for him to walk away the way he did, it felt like, to me, it was over when you look at the dynamic in his family, his children getting older, boys in school. Now he wanted to go back and coach a little high school. So, it looked like it was done. But here's the deal, Wilds. If he goes out there and he balls, we probably won't see Carson Wentz. Like, this is a true contender. And when you have a veteran quarterback like Phillip Rivers, what it does is it gives you a sense of security because that guy – in the biggest moments, in the biggest situation on Sundays, he's going to make the right decision. Back in the day when he was playing for the Chargers, right? Like, he's a gunslinger. That's who he is. And he was out there trying to do too much. Frank must have sat him down last year and said, buddy, don't throw no picks. If you do, you won't be in there. We know that Frank is a dude who is transparent. He keeps it real with his players. So he must have gotten to Phillip Rivers because we didn't see the same gunslinger last year that we saw during his stay with the Chargers. So I like this because you have a defense, a top 5 defense, their philosophy, their science makes sense, and they're smart. Like, these dudes get after it. All 3 phases, all 3 levels, they get it done. And on the offensive side, Jonathan Taylor, this dude is next level. These guys can win a game just on the ground. So you got a guy like this. You come in, he loves to play action. We saw that year after year after year out there in San Diego and L.A., and he also showed that he can make the right decision in the 2-minute drill, operating the 4-minute offense, the red zone offense, the most critical parts of the game on Sundays. He can master that. He's next level. There's not too many quarterbacks out there right now, Nick, that you can bring in that can get the job done while Carson Wentz is out.
Well, yeah. I mean, if the other alternatives are the Nick Foles realm, then obviously Phillip Rivers is the better option. You guys talked about why it would make sense for the Colts. I want to talk about why it would make sense for Phillip Rivers. Because, Liz, I'm going to say something controversial, and Jenna and Wilds are going to act like they disagree, but they know I'm right. You know what is slightly overrated? Spending a ton of time, all your time, with your kids. Spending a good amount of time with your kids is good, but Phillip Rivers is like, I got 9 kids. I'm going to spend all my time with them. Oh, it's the greatest thing in the world. Meanwhile, every day before the show, I hear Jenna freaking out. You better get on that bus to camp. I swear to God, if you miss the bus to camp, and I got to deal with you today. Wilds, we are allowed to do these shows from home. Wilds rented office space. Okay. He's like, nope, kids, Billy and Russ, I'll see you later. I'm going. Brandon has like 4 jobs. He has like 4 jobs. It's like, kids, I'll see you in the morning and at night, but other than that, Daddy's working. Phillip Rivers like, I got 9 kids. I'm going to spend all my time with them. 4 months later, he's like, anybody want to hire me?
I got to get back to work.
I got to travel for work. work, no problem. So I do think Phillip Rivers wants to do it. I also think that for the Colts, they do have a commitment to Wentz because they traded a pick for him. And by the way, this kind of could work out because that's now going to be a second-round pick instead of a first-round pick because Wentz isn't going to meet the playing time thresholds for this to be a first-round pick. And they are committed to Wentz for not only this year, but next year. So you can't bring in a guy who might full-on replace him wholesale. But you do, as Brandon has mentioned, and I don't think he's wrong, have a really good roster. You are in a division where there's only one other team that's actually contending. I think Jacksonville will be good-ish this year, but they're not a contender, and Houston will be terrible. So you don't want to have your season ruined by having no one at quarterback. And so for all those reasons, I think this makes sense. Wilds, he knows the system, as you pointed out. He was successful there last year,
right.
and he would be being brought in. I think he would understand, hey, man, like, this is at least our plan is for Carson to take over when he's healthy. Now that plans can change, but I don't think Phillip Rivers would be like, no, you have to commit to me for the season. So for all those reasons, if he wants to do it, and his quotes to Sam Farmer make it seem like he's open to it, I think this is a no-brainer. I think you nailed it.
So I think it's 99% of a no-brainer. And I want to ask you a question, Brandon, because you have brought up how some guys thrive under competition and other guys don't. We saw Aaron Rodgers, and granted there's a host of issues, but once Jordan Love was in the building, got kind of weird. Tom Brady and Jimmy G, a little bit weird. We saw Carson Wentz, and maybe it was a Nick Foles thing. We said, don't bring Nick Foles back. We don't want that sort of dynamic. So do you think, I mean, it's a good problem to have in the short term, that if Phillip Rivers comes back to Indianapolis, they start winning games. And then Carson Wentz takes off the walking boot and is running around like, oh, old CW's ready to go again. It's like, why don't you're kind of benched again. It's like, oh, man, I just was benched in Philly. Thought I was coming here to get a new start. Do you think even the idea of bringing bringing Phillip Rivers to Indianapolis would mess with Carson Wentz's psyche?
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, we saw that last year, how fragile, his mindset was. And then even a year before, dealing with, Nick Foles being there and the success Nick Foles had and guys really embracing him. Phillip Rivers is loved in that organization, from the general manager, Chris Ballard, down to the head coach, Frank Wright, and then all the guys in the locker room. He's one of those guys. He's a Josh McCown. He's a Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's a Aaron Rodgers. He's one of the guys. He's a Tom Brady. There's some quarterbacks, when they walk in the building, they have their own little office. It feels like it. They do their own little thing, and you only see them in the meeting room. You only see them when we go out to practice. You barely see them. Hell, you don't even see them in the training room. You don't see them in a hot tub, cold tub. But those guys, they're right there next to the guys in the locker room. So when you look at Phillip Rivers, he's going to go out there and he's going to compete. And if you look at those first 9 games, right, from the from opening day to the 9th game playing against my strong Jets, if he goes out there, first of all, if they sign him and he goes out there and they win some games, and they come out. Look, you laugh. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing at me?
I'm just the Jets. Just the Jets part. No. Just the Jets part. Everything else was good. Keep going.
I know.
Let's not get confused.
Finish the sentence.
Go ahead.
If they go out and they win games
But
with
if he
him,
goes out there, let's say if he wins 5-6 games, I don't know if we see a Carson Wentz for the rest of the year. I just don't see that happening.
Oof.
And so
especially
this
if
is
he
where
beats
I
the
think
Jets.
it also works. Yeah, especially if he beats the Jets. If people don't know the Colts' schedule, the Colts' first 8 weeks
Jenna,
are actually very difficult.
Jenna.
So Brandon was correct about that.
You
but
did?
here's where I actually think this works really well. And I know Brandon was like, Frank Reich mind melded him, and he was like, you can't throw picks. Guess what? Phillip, if they want to get Carson Wentz back in the lineup, Phillip Rivers about once a month will give him a game where it's like, okay, Phillip, you're done. There'll be a game where Phillip's down 6 and he's like, and throws blind and it's intercepted the other way. And it's like, okay, Carson, you got your job back. But the other 3 games that month, he'll keep you alive. He'll play well. So I don't think this would be a permanent replacement. But I also do think this, that you need. If Carson Wentz never got hurt, it would have been a huge benefit for them to have Phillip Rivers on the roster. Because you need a backup quarterback for the end of the season with Carson Wentz. Because he has shown a propensity to get injured during the year. And so if Phillip Rivers can come in and play the first month, and then Wentz takes over, you still would like Phillip Rivers to stick around, Jenna, in case Carson Wentz gets banged up again, so your playoff hopes aren't riding on Jacob Eason or Brent Hundley or whomever they install as their number 2 quarterback.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.